So, a new retro series is upon us. I found this, an old Jack Sparrow hat and wig that I bought from Disneyland 8 years ago, and don't expect me to try to do an impression because I will fail at doing a Captain Jack Sparrow impression. Savvy? That's the closest you'll ever get, because... Okay, I'm getting this thing off. It's ridiculous. On to the reviews. Oh, glasses. Now on to the reviews. So for the next 4 weeks, I'll be going through all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies because A, there's a 5th movie coming out near the end of the month, but also, more importantly, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the original ride at Disneyland. So that's a lot of tying in with this review series. So let's start off with Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, which came out in 2003, stars Johnny Depp, Geoffrey Rush, Orlando Bloom, Keira Knightley, directed by Gore Verbinski, and produced by Jerry Bruckheimer. The movie follows the infamous pirate, Captain Jack Sparrow, played by Johnny Depp, who is on a quest to find this mysterious ship called the Black Pearl. The reason is because he was once captain of the ship before his treacherous first mate, Hector Barbossa, played by Geoffrey Rush, led a mutiny against Jack, and now Barbossa takes control of the Black Pearl. He and his crew found some lost Aztec gold, but unfortunately it had a curse tied to it, and now whenever they step into the moonlight, they turn into skeletons. So the crew is on a hunt for this one final coin to basically lift the curse, while Jack Sparrow hopefully takes this as an opportunity to get his ship back. And then we have 2 people from a nearby English colony in the Caribbean who are dragged along for the ride. No pun intended. We have Elizabeth Swann, played by Keira Knightley, and then we have Will Turner, played by Orlando Bloom. And Will Turner might actually be the key to lifting the curse and helping Jack complete his revenge. Now, like I said before, this is the 50th anniversary of the original ride that spawned this series. And basically, the ride at Disneyland, it's pretty much like going through a wax museum. In fact, the original concept for the ride was to be a wax museum, but it was changed into a ride. And I love it. Sure, it's cheesy, sure, it's not all that exciting, but it just has a great atmosphere, the sets are amazing, the song is catchy. And it was one of the very last, if not the last ride that Walt Disney worked on while he was alive. So I love it. It has its mark in Disneyland history. So when this movie came out, everyone rolled their eyes at the idea because, well, for several reasons. A, basing a movie off a Disneyland ride is kind of like a new low. It's like, wow, you guys really don't have any good ideas at all. So you're just going to make a movie based off one of your rides? But then also, the pirate genre itself is not all that profitable. Whether or not some of the movies are good or bad is not really an issue. It's more of, again, the movie's making a profit, and the pirate genre is just not the genre that makes money. 3, this was being produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, who is more known for these big, stupid, dumb action movies. Whether they're enjoyable or not is up for debate, like Top Gun, The Rock, Armageddon, Pearl Harbor, Beverly Hills Cop. So he's had a long career of producing these big action movies. So it's really weird that he's associated with a straight-up Disney movie. And then lastly, this was the very first Disney film to get a PG-13 rating. In the decades that Disney has started distributing their own movies, all of their movies have been either G or PG, never gone to PG-13, and Pirates of the Caribbean was the first one to do that. So again, this movie had so much going against it. It had such an uphill battle that everyone's jaw dropped when they saw the movie and went, well, shit. I'm going to eat my words because Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl is an amazing action-adventure movie. I think surprise definitely plays a huge part in this because, again, we weren't expecting this to be really good, and it turned out to be infinitely better than we all imagined. Is it as good as another adventure film like Raiders of the Lost Ark? I'd go as far to say yes. I would say that Pirates of the Caribbean Curse of the Black Pearl is almost as good as Raiders of the Lost Ark. And in fact, the two movies kind of share a similarity. Both were directed by directors whose career launched after they made a groundbreaking horror movie. Both of them feature an actor who was popular, but this movie turned them into a megastar with an iconic character. Both spawned several sequels that people often debate about, and both even have Disneyland rides that are literally next to each other. So the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, in a way, are like the 21st century equivalent of the Indiana Jones films. But let's talk about the movie itself, and let's talk about the iconic character in question, Captain Jack Sparrow, played by Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp's performance in this movie is incredible. This is a very unique character, especially when you think of pirates. Like, he's always drunk, he sometimes mumbles a lot of his lines, but I think that plays into the charm of the character. He's over the top, he's funny, he's a scumbag, but he's also very heroic when he needs to be, and people love this role. Sure, nowadays when people think of Johnny Depp, their first instinct is to roll their eyes and groan. Not really in that order, but because he just keeps doing the same old shtick he does since the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. But at the time, this was something very unique and something we never seen before. And what I also really like is that he's not doing a cliched pirate. He does just a unique character. He doesn't do the typical pirate voice like, "Arr, shiver me timbers." It's just a very weird, bizarre character, and I like it. And this is a role that's so good that Johnny Depp was even nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor. Again, playing into the element of surprise and the uphill battle that this movie had, nobody expected this. This is just like when Sigourney Weaver got nominated for Best Actress in Aliens. This movie, when it was coming out, you figured, okay, it's going to get nominated for the technical awards. Best makeup, best visual effects, yeah, it could have done that with its eyes closed. But Best Actor? Not in a genre film? Movies that the Academy looks down upon? And not only that, but a genre that's unproven? That is really impressive. And again, just like with Aliens, Johnny Depp didn't win, but the fact that he was nominated is still a win in itself. Now, everyone loves Johnny Depp, but luckily the other characters are still really good. My next favorite is probably Geoffrey Rush as Hector Barbossa. Geoffrey Rush plays more of your typical cliched pirate. He has the cliched pirate voice, but he's just a really great villain. He chews up the scenery in the best way possible, and he's able to balance a mix of both charming and evil, and you can tell that he's just enjoying every second he's on screen. I think he's just as good as Johnny Depp. And whenever the two of them are on screen, they have great chemistry. If there was one actor that was okay to bring back in the sequels, it was Geoffrey Rush, because their chemistry was so good in this first movie. Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley, despite what you want to think about them in the later movies, here I really like them. They are more the down-to-earth characters. In fact, they're kind of our gateway into the world of pirates, because they're just average people living their daily lives, and then they get roped into this world of pirates where it's pretty much something that they don't really expect. And you do care for these two. You want to see them get together. They have good chemistry with each other. They have their funny moments. In this first movie, they really work. The other side characters are really fun as well. There are these two characters that are part of the Black Pearl's crew when Hector Barbossa is in charge, who are effective, but they can also be creepy at points. My favorite side character is Mr. Gibbs, who is Jack Sparrow's first mate, and he pretty much serves as Captain Exposition. He kind of gives us the whole backstory on Jack Sparrow being Captain of the Black Pearl. In fact, that plot element comes in as a twist, but he lays down the story behind it, what led to the mutiny, how Jack managed to escape the island he was marooned on. He's there for exposition, but he's still a fun character regardless. Like Geoffrey Rush, he has more of your typical cliched pirate voice. And then this movie also features Zoe Saldana in a very small role. This is one of her pre-Star Trek, Avatar, or Guardians of the Galaxy roles. And every time I watch Pirates of the Caribbean, I keep forgetting that she's in it because her role's not that big. And again, this was before she became a big star. And also because she doesn't come back in any of the other movies. So that's almost the reason why I forget that she's in this movie, but she's good for the little time that she has. The music is absolutely incredible. The Pirates of the Caribbean theme is really memorable, on the level of John Williams' Raiders of the Lost Ark theme. And the music really helps with the atmosphere of the movie in certain scenarios. When there's a big action scene happening, the music amps up. When there are some quiet, chilling moments, the music decides to be chilling and atmospheric. A lot of people like to associate Hans Zimmer with the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and while he has scored the second, third, and fourth movies, this first movie was composed by Klaus Badelt, who is one of Hans Zimmer's millions of proteges. And I think it's just worth noting who the original composer was for this movie, because I think when people think of Pirates of the Caribbean music, they point mostly to Hans Zimmer, which he did do some work on this movie. It's an amazing score, one of the most memorable scores of the last decade. The movie also has a surprising amount of humor, and really good humor, I gotta say. There's a lot of slapstick, but a lot of the humor is just really thought out and often clever. I kind of look at this movie, after rewatching it, as sort of the prototype for how Marvel would use humor in their movies. I mean, the Marvel movies have less slapstick than the Pirates movies, but in a way, the humor for this movie is kind of what Marvel would end up doing with some of their movies in the future. The action scenes are really great, well choreographed, and a lot of fun. The one problem that I do have with the movie, and it's a very small problem, is that some of the CG has definitely not aged well. I mean, this movie is 14 years old, and the CG is definitely of its time, which you can't really blame the movie for because technology advances so much as the years go on. But I do really love the effect of when the Black Pearl crew steps in and out of the moonlight and you see them transform into these skeletons. In fact, I remember one scene in the trailer when Hector Barbossa steps out into the moonlight and he says, "You best start believing in ghost stories, Missy. You're in one." It just left a creepy impact on me, like the voice, the menacing feel to it, and just seeing him transform into a skeleton. The effect of the transformation is well done, but some of the actual CG looks very much of its time. So there's not much else that can be said about this movie. It's fun, it's exciting, the characters are great, the music's iconic. It does run for a little too long, but you're never bored, and the movie does deliver enough twists and turns to make it interesting. And one thing that I really have to give this movie credit for is that it tries to stay as far as it can from making nods to the ride. I mean, sure, there are some moments that are definitely like the ride. Like there's a parrot saying, "Dead men tell no tales," just like the iconic line in the ride. And then they recreate the iconic scene where the prisoners are trying to lure this dog to them that has keys, and they're going, "Come on, nice doggy. Here, mutt." And then they have the Pirates of the Caribbean song from the ride play a couple times throughout the movie. It's played at the beginning, and then Jack Sparrow and Elizabeth Swann drunkenly sing it around a campfire, which that's probably the most obvious reference, but at the same time, it's really unavoidable. You can't really have Pirates of the Caribbean without bringing in the song. But most of the time, it kind of works as its own thing. You don't really have to depend on the ride. And then there are some other nods that you have to be a true Disney nerd like me to get them. But this is one that's definitely really enjoyable. I don't have many negatives to say about it. I love it. So if you've never seen Pirates of the Caribbean Curse of the Black Pearl, you definitely have to get off your ass and go see it right now. And luckily, if you're not interested in like watching the entire series, this does work as a standalone movie. So you could just watch this and it's a one and done thing. Never needed a sequel. You could just view this first movie as its own thing. So I absolutely love this movie. And that's my review for Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. Next week, we're going to start looking at the sequels, starting with Dead Man's Chest. So, until then, I hope you enjoyed this review. Leave a comment down below and tell me what your thoughts are on this movie, if and when you've seen it. And as always, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there is only one.